My name is Polina Rodriguez, and I'm about to tell you about the morning I learned that no amount of planning can protect you from the people you love most. The people in this story are real. My father is Sandro Rodriguez, a quiet man who kept peace at any cost. My mother, Camila Rodriguez, who survived poverty in Mexico and never stopped fighting. And my sister, Elwin Rodriguez, 3 years younger, born premature, and never stopped needing rescue. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please, stay with me until the end. 6:02 a.m. I pulled into my parents' driveway, 2 minutes late according to my mother's standards. 2 years. That's how long I'd been saving for this trip. Every overtime shift, every skipped dinner out, every sacrifice funneled into one dream: giving my parents the European vacation they'd never had. The notebook on my passenger seat held 300 pages of research, hotels, restaurants, museums, every detail planned to perfection, because that's who I was: the planner, the fixer, the responsible one. My mother stepped onto the porch with her suitcase before I could knock. "You're late," she said. I forced a smile. "3 minutes, Mom. We have plenty of time." Then the door opened wider, and Elwin walked out with a suitcase of her own. Everything stopped. "What's going on?" I asked, though somewhere deep down I already knew. Camira's expression tried for cheerful, but landed on defensive. "We decided Elwin should come instead of you." The words didn't compute. Instead of me. On my trip. "She's been so stressed," my mother continued, words rushing out. "Lost that gallery contract last week. Her therapist said she needs a change of environment, something to spark her creativity. And you're always working anyway, so we thought—" "You thought I wouldn't mind?" My voice cracked. Elwin finally looked at me, eyes red-rimmed. "Lena, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen like this." "How did you mean for it to happen?" "Don't be dramatic," Camila snapped. "Nobody's stealing anything. It's still a family trip, just with Elwin instead." My father emerged carrying his suitcase, immediately avoiding my eyes. That told me everything about his role in this decision. Passive agreement, as always. "Mija," he said softly, "I know this is unusual." Unusual. Not wrong, not unfair. Unusual. I stood there gripping my purse and that stupid notebook full of plans that suddenly meant nothing, and felt something crack inside my chest. "I planned this for us," I whispered. "Mom, Dad, and me. And we're grateful," Camila said, already moving toward my car. "But Elwin needs this more. You understand, don't you? You're always so understanding." There it was, the trap I'd built myself. Being understanding, being flexible, being the one who could handle disappointment. I looked at Elwin. She did look terrible. Thin, dark circles, messy hair. Part of me wanted to ask what was wrong, wanted to fix it, but another part wanted to scream. I did neither. "Let's load the suitcases," I said quietly. "We don't want to be late." The 45-minute drive was suffocating silence, broken only by Elwin's manic chatter about cafes and museums and all the things she'd do on my vacation. "We're going to make sure to visit every place you picked out," my mother said. The ice cracked deeper. Elwin leaned forward. "I'll take lots of pictures. It'll be like you're there." "It'll be like you're there." I texted Sophia. "Emergency. They're taking Elwin instead of me." Her response: "What? Everything okay?" my father asked. "Fine, Dad." 15 minutes from the airport, Elwin addressed it directly. "My therapist said I was showing signs of severe depression. Crisis intervention. Mom told you that, right?" "She didn't," I said. Camila shifted uncomfortably. "We didn't want to worry you." "So you just decided without asking me first?" "It's not your trip," my mother said, edge in her voice. "You planned it as a gift for us. We're just bringing Elwin instead. The gift is still appreciated." The logic was so twisted it made my head hurt. I pulled into Departures and parked. "I need to talk to Dad alone." When the others left, my father handed me an envelope without meeting my eyes. Inside, $500 and a note. "Mija, I know this isn't fair. This is all I have saved. Take yourself somewhere nice when we get back. You deserve the world. Papa, Papa, I whispered. I'm sorry I'm not stronger, he said, then got out. I watched them walk into the terminal, my mother's efficient stride, my father's slower pace, Elowen between them looking guilty and excited. They disappeared without looking back. I drove 2 blocks before pulling over, crying too hard to see. Sophia called. I told her everything. Polina, she said after a long silence. I saw Elowen's Instagram 3 weeks ago. She posted about manifesting a Paris trip. My blood went cold. What? She sent the screenshot. Elowen's post from 3 weeks ago. Manifesting this energy hashtag Paris je viens, hashtag vacation mode. Comments. OMG, your mom finally said yes? My mother only told me last night, I said slowly. How did her friends know 3 weeks ago? Because she was planning this. She saw your notebook. She saw an opportunity, and she took it. Then Sophia sent another screenshot, a group chat leak. Elowen, 2 weeks ago. Still working on mom. Polina planned this whole thing. I just need to get on the trip, LOL friend. Isn't that messed up? Elowen, she'll get over it. She always does. Besides, I need this more. She can go to Europe anytime. This might be my only chance. Friend, if you say so. Elowen, trust me, Polina loves playing the martyr anyway. This is basically her love language. I stared at those words. She'll get over it. She always does. Playing the martyr, her love language. She manipulated everything, I said. The mental health stuff is probably real, Sophia said carefully. But she used it as leverage. Sitting in that parking lot, staring at my sister's words, I felt something shift. The grief was still there, the betrayal. But underneath it all, anger. Pure, clean, clarifying anger. I have to go, I said. I hung up and opened my laptop. Hotel reservations, tours, restaurants, upgraded seats, museum passes. My hands were steady as I started clicking. Cancel, cancel, cancel. With each click, I felt lighter, freer. They wanted Elowen to go? Fine, but they could figure it out themselves. I wasn't their fixer anymore. I drove home on autopilot, Elowen's words on repeat. She'll get over it. She always does. How many times had I proven her right? Her 16th birthday when I'd saved for months to buy professional oil paints, forgotten within an hour because a boy hadn't texted back. My promotion opportunity last year, a $40,000 raise I'd turned down because Elowen was going through something, and Mom asked me to stay close. Every sacrifice, every time I'd put her first. And this was what she thought of me. My phone rang. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. I turned it off. I pulled out my father's note. Call Aunt Rosa. Rosa Martinez answered on the second ring. Polina? Your father told me what happened. I take it you dropped them off. About an hour ago. And I canceled all the reservations. A long pause, then a laugh, real and full. Good for you, about damn time. Everyone's going to hate me. Let them. Polina, you've been taking care of Elowen since you were 3 years old. Your mother has blind spots the size of Texas, especially about her. She said it was a mental health crisis. Elowen's always in crisis. It's her default state because every time everyone drops everything to save her. Why would she change? The validation made something loosen in my chest. I still feel terrible. Feeling terrible doesn't mean you did the wrong thing, Rosa said firmly. Sometimes doing the right thing feels awful because you've been programmed to think putting yourself first is selfish. After we hung up, I looked around my neat, organized apartment. Everything perfect, just like my life was supposed to be. For the first time, I wondered what would happen if I stopped being perfect. The phone didn't stop for 6 hours. I unpacked my suitcase in a strange calm, each item returned to its place. The dresses I'd chosen for Paris dinners, the shoes for walking Roman cobblestones, occasions that would never happen. Sophia arrived at 2 p.m. with coffee. We need to talk. I told her about Rosa's call, about the years of always being the backup plan. Remember your birthday dinner last year? Sophia asked. The one you canceled because Elowen had an anxiety attack? Turned out she was just lonely because her boyfriend was traveling. That's not... You apologized to her for not being available enough. Sophia leaned forward. What about the New York promotion? $40,000 you turned down because your parents asked you to stay close for Elowen. She needed... She's always in a bad place, Polina. There's always a reason, and every time you sacrifice everything. Sophia's voice softened. Loving someone doesn't mean setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. She pulled up the group chat again, scrolling to show me more. Elowen. She'll get over it. She always does. Elowen. Polina loves playing the martyr anyway. This is basically her love language. Those words. That laughing emoji. She knew, I said quietly. She manufactured the crisis. The struggles are real, Sophia said, but she used them to get what she wanted. My phone buzzed. Mom. Polina, this isn't funny. Call the hotel and fix this now. Elowen. You're being so petty. This is a new low even for you. Elowen. We're stuck at the airport. The upgrades aren't working. Fix this. Let them figure it out, Sophia said. I opened my bank account. The trip had cost $15,000. Cancellations would refund about $10,000. With my savings, I'd have nearly $20,000. Enough for my own trip, a solo trip. I'm going to Italy, I said, by myself. Sophia grinned. Now we're talking. My phone buzzed again. Dad. Mija, please. Your mother is very upset, not asking if I was okay, just asking me to fix things, keep peace, make it better. I thought about Rosa's words. Feeling terrible doesn't mean you did the wrong thing. I thought about Sophia's question. When do you get to matter? I turned the phone off, completely off. What now? Sophia asked. Now I plan my trip, and I don't turn that phone on until I'm ready, on my terms. Sophia raised her cup. To Polina Rodriguez, finally putting herself first. To new beginnings. For 3 days, I existed in limbo. Phone off, charging in a drawer. I planned cooking classes in Florence, art tours in Rome, gondola rides in Venice. Everything I'd wanted but modified for my parents. This trip would be mine, completely, selfishly mine. On day 4, I ran into Gabriella from work at the grocery store. Polina, I thought you were in Europe. Change of plans. Planning a solo trip to Italy now. Amazing, she paused. Is it true about your sister going instead? I froze. Where did you hear that? Your mom called the office yesterday. Pretty upset. Said something about you not answering and needing you to fix the trip. My mother had called my workplace. In my car, I stared at my phone. Turn it on or keep it off. I realized I'd never feel completely ready. Sometimes you just had to jump. I turned it on. 73 texts, 27 missed calls, 14 voicemails. My mother's voicemails escalated from confused to furious. The hotel won't honor the reservation. Call immediately. This isn't funny. Call me now. I cannot believe you would do this to your family. Elowen crying. We're stuck at an awful hostel. Mom and Dad are fighting. It's all my fault. Please call. My father weary. Please, Mija, don't make this harder. And one text from Elowen sent late last night. You were right. About all of it. I'm so sorry. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I put the phone back in my purse without responding. I'd turned it on. I'd heard them. That was enough. Tomorrow, maybe I'd respond, but on my timeline, not theirs. For now, I had Italy to plan. I kept my phone off for 7 days. 7 days of the most peaceful silence I'd experienced in years. I slept past 7 a.m. for the first time in months. I tried a yoga class that Sophia had been begging me to attend. I sat on my balcony with coffee and actually tasted it instead of gulping it down while answering emails. I also cried. A lot. The kind of crying that comes from years of holding everything in. Ugly, snotty, exhausting crying that left me hollow but somehow lighter. On day 3, I started a journal. Not a planner, not a to-do list. An actual journal where I wrote about feelings instead of tasks. I don't remember the last time I did something just because I wanted to, I wrote. Everything is always about what someone else needs. When did I become so small in my own life? On day 5, Sophia brought wine and takeout. Have you looked at your phone? She asked. No. Good, they can wait. She poured 2 generous glasses. How are you really doing? I'm terrified, I admitted. Terrified that when I finally talk to them, I'll cave, that I'll apologize and fix everything and go right back to being who I was. Then don't talk to them until you're sure you won't. When will that be? Sophia smiled. You'll know. On day 6, I finalized my Italy plans. 2 weeks in September. Rome, Florence, Venice. Solo travel. The deposit was paid before I could second-guess myself. On day 7, I woke up and knew it was time. I turned my phone on. The voicemails had stopped after day 4, but the text messages continued. I scrolled through them, watching the evolution of my family's reaction in real time. Day 1. Anger. Mom, fix this now. Elowen, this is so petty. Day 2. Bargaining. Mom, if you fix the hotels, we'll talk about this when we get home. Dad, please, mija, we can work this out. Day 3. Reality. Elowen, we found a cheap hotel. It's not great, but we're managing. Mom, we're making do. No thanks to you. Day 4. Silence from Mom and Elowen. Day 5. Just Dad. Dad, we're okay. Found some nice local places. The trip isn't what we expected, but we're safe. Call when you're ready. Day 6. Elowen. Different tone. Elowen. Lena, I'm sitting at the Eiffel Tower and all I can think about is how you should be here. How I took this from you. I'm so sorry. Day 7. This morning. Dad, we land tonight at 9 p.m. Your mother wants to talk. I sat with those messages for a long time. Part of me felt vindicated. They'd survived, figured it out, maybe even learned something. Another part felt the familiar tug of guilt. But I also noticed something. They'd survived without me. The world hadn't ended. They'd found hotels, navigated a foreign city, dealt with their own problems. Maybe Aunt Rosa was right. Maybe they needed to figure things out on their own. I typed a single message to my father. I'll meet you at the airport. Then I called Sophia. I need you to come with me tonight. To the airport? For moral support, so I don't back down. I'm there. I had 8 hours before I needed to leave for the airport. 8 hours to prepare myself for a confrontation I'd been avoiding my entire life. I found myself driving to St. Catherine's, the church where I'd grown up. I hadn't been inside in years, not since my college graduation mass that my mother had insisted on. The parking lot was nearly empty on a Tuesday afternoon. The building looked smaller than I remembered, but the garden was still beautiful, roses blooming despite the late summer heat. Polina Rodriguez. I turned to find Father Miguel walking toward me, pruning shears in hand. He looked older, more gray in his hair, deeper lines around his eyes, but his smile was the same warm one I remembered from childhood. Father Miguel, I said, surprised. I didn't know you were still here. Where else would I be? This is home. He set down the shears. You look troubled, mija. Want to talk? I hadn't come here planning to confess anything, but something about his presence made the words tumble out. I told him everything. The trip, the betrayal, the cancellations, the week of silence. He listened without interrupting, occasionally nodding, his weathered hands folded in his lap. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Your mother came from poverty in Guadalajara, he finally said. Did you know she was one of 8 children? I nodded. She's mentioned it. What she probably didn't mention is that 2 of her siblings died young, preventable illnesses, no money for doctors. He looked toward the roses. When Elowen was born premature, fighting for every breath, it triggered your mother's deepest fear, losing a child. I know she was scared. She overcorrected, Father Miguel continued gently. Tried to protect Elowen from every hardship, every struggle. In doing so, she forgot that you needed protection too. Different protection. Not from hardship, but from being burdened with more than a child should carry. The words hit something deep in my chest. Your father, he continued. His own father was violent. Isandro swore he'd keep peace at any cost. But peace bought at the expense of one child's well-being isn't peace. It's injustice dressed up as harmony. So what do I do? I asked. How do I forgive them? Forgiveness doesn't mean accepting bad treatment, Father Miguel said firmly. The Bible says honor thy father and mother, but it also says not to exasperate your children. Love works both ways. He stood, gesturing for me to walk with him through the garden. You know what I tell couples in marriage counseling? You cannot pour from an empty cup. The same applies to family. You've been pouring and pouring until there's nothing left of yourself. But they're my family. Which means they should want you to thrive, not just survive. He stopped by a rosebush, touching a bloom gently. See this? If I only ever took from it, cut every flower, never watered it, never fed the soil, eventually there'd be nothing left to give. Love requires tending both ways. I don't know how to tend to myself without feeling selfish, I admitted. Then that's what you need to learn. And maybe, he smiled softly, maybe that's what your family needs to learn too. That loving you means letting you have boundaries, letting you be more than their problem solver. I felt tears threatening. They're going to be so angry. Probably. Anger is easier than admitting fault. But Polina, remember, you're not responsible for managing their emotions. You're only responsible for being honest about your own. Before I left, he gave me a small card with a prayer on it. Not a prayer for forgiveness or patience, but one for courage. Thank you, Father, I said. Go with God, mija, and go with your truth. I was back home, trying to mentally prepare for the airport confrontation, when my doorbell rang. Aunt Rosa stood there holding a container of tamales. Aunt Rosa? What are you doing here? Your father called me, said you were meeting them tonight, thought you could use some backup. She walked past me into the apartment. Also, you probably haven't been eating properly. Emotional turmoil and an empty stomach don't mix. Despite everything, I smiled. Rosa had always been direct. She set the tamales on my kitchen counter and turned to face me. I need to tell you something I've never told anyone, about your mother and me. I sat down, sensing this was important. When we were girls in Guadalajara, I was the pretty one, Rosa began. Boys liked me, I got attention. Camira was the responsible one, the one who raised me while our mother worked 3 jobs. I'd never heard this story. She sacrificed her entire childhood for me. Quit school at 14 to work so I could stay in classes. Gave up her quinceañera savings so I could have a dress. Rosa's voice thickened. And I took it all for granted, just like Elowen does with you. What happened? When I was 19, I stole money she'd been saving, nearly $500, which was everything back then. I ran off with a boy I thought I loved. She laughed bitterly. He left me in Tijuana 2 weeks later. The money was gone. I came crawling back. Did she forgive you? She said she did. But something broke between us that day. Not from the theft, from years of me taking and her giving and both of us pretending it was normal. Rosa met my eyes. We were never the same. Even now, 30 years later, there's this gap we can't cross. Why are you telling me this? Because when I see Elowen with you, I see me with Camira, and I see your mother repeating the cycle, making you the responsible one, the giver, the one who sacrifices. Rosa leaned forward. Don't let this fester for 30 years. Set boundaries now, hard ones. Mom will be devastated. She'll survive, and if you do it right, if you're firm but fair, she'll respect you for it. I know my sister. She doesn't respect sacrifice. She respects strength. Rosa reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. This is $2,000, my quinceañera money with 30 years of interest. I can't. You can and you will. I've been saving it to give to Camira, but she doesn't need it. You do, for your trip. Rosa pressed it into my hands. This isn't charity. This is rebalancing karma. I stared at the envelope, overwhelmed. One more thing, Rosa said. Camira called me from Paris 2 days ago. She did? She's starting to see it. What she did, but she won't apologize unless you make her. Rodriguez women are stubborn. You have to stand firm. After Rosa left, I sat holding her envelope and thought about family patterns repeating across generations. My mother had been the responsible sister. Now I was the responsible daughter. Where did it end? It ended with me. Tonight. Sophia picked me up at 8:30 p.m. You ready? She asked. I looked at myself in the car mirror. I'd dressed professionally. Blazer, nice jeans, hair pulled back. Body language matters, my therapist would say. Stand tall, look them in the eye, remember your worth. As ready as I'll ever be. We arrived at the international terminal just as the flight status changed to landed. My heart hammered against my ribs. I'm right here, Sophia said, squeezing my hand. You've got this. Passengers started trickling through customs 45 minutes later. I spotted my father first, his familiar shuffle, suitcase wheel broken and dragging. Then my mother, looking exhausted, older somehow. And Elowen, surprisingly clear-eyed, her usual dramatic entrance subdued. My mother saw me first. Oh, you came. The surprise in her voice stung, but I kept my expression neutral. We need to talk. Not here. There's a cafe upstairs. Polina, we've been traveling for 12 hours, Kamira started. Then another 20 minutes won't matter. Follow me. I didn't wait for agreement. I turned and walked toward the escalators. Behind me, I heard my father say quietly, Cammy, let her lead this time. We found a corner table in a nearly empty cafe. I sat across from them, Sophia beside me, a united front. I'm going to talk, I said, before anyone else could speak. You're going to listen. Then you can respond. My mother opened her mouth, but my father put a hand on her arm. She closed it. I took a deep breath and began. For 29 years, I've been the good daughter, the reliable one, the fixer. When Elowen was sick as a baby, I understood she needed more. I stepped back. When she struggled in school, I tutored her instead of joining clubs. When she needed therapy, I worked extra hours to help pay for it. I never complained because I love her, because I love all of you. But somewhere along the way, my sacrifices became expected. Not appreciated, expected. And I became invisible unless something needed fixing. This trip wasn't about Paris or Rome. It was about me finally doing something that said, I matter too. And in one morning, you erased that. I know Elowen was struggling, but Mom, Dad, I've been struggling too. Working 70-hour weeks, skipping my own life, for what? So that when I finally do something for myself, it can be given away without even asking me first? My voice was steady, but tears ran down my face. I canceled the trip not to punish you. I canceled it because I needed you to feel, just for one moment, what it's like when someone takes your dream and acts like it doesn't matter. Silence filled the space between us. Then my father spoke, tears in his eyes. Mija, you're right. He turned to my mother. Cammy, we failed her. Back to me. I gave you that money because I knew we were wrong. But I was too much a coward to say it out loud. I'm sorry. Lo siento mucho, mi vida. My mother's face was a war between defensiveness and dawning realization. We were trying to help Elowen, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. She needed, and I needed my family to choose me. Just once. Kamira's composure cracked. Tears spilled over. I didn't want you to struggle like I did. I grew up with nothing. I wanted you both to have everything. But you gave Elowen too much shelter and me too much burden, I said quietly. You leaned on me like your parents leaned on you. You repeated the cycle. My mother looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. You know about that? Aunt Rosa told me. About how you raised her. About how she took you for granted. Recognition flickered in Kamira's eyes, understanding that history was repeating. Then Elowen spoke. I manipulated the situation. Everyone turned to her. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands and opened Instagram. In front of all of us, she deleted the Manifesting Paris post. I saw your planning notebook months ago, Lena. I wanted the trip, so I made myself the priority. She looked at our parents. I lied about how bad things were. They were bad, but I made them sound worse because I knew it would work. Elowen, no. Kamira started. Yes, Mama. You protect me from everything, including consequences. Polina is successful because she faces things. I'm a mess because I run from them, because you let me. Elowen turned to me, really looked at me. I saw that group chat Sophia found, the one where I said you love playing the martyr. I hate that I wrote that. I hate that I believed it. You used me, I said. I did. Because it was easier than fixing my own life. Because I've spent 26 years learning that if I cry hard enough, someone will rescue me. Usually you. The honesty was startling and painful. My mother broke then, full, shaking sobs. I didn't want you to struggle like I did. But you gave Elowen too much shelter and me too much burden. I repeated gently. That's not love, Mama. That's imbalance. I'm sorry, mija. I'm so sorry. I appreciate that, I said. But apologies aren't enough. Things have to actually change. I pulled out a piece of paper. I'd written it all down, knowing I'd need it. These are my boundaries going forward, non-negotiable. I read them aloud. 1. No more last-minute requests to drop my plans for family drama. If it's not a genuine emergency, hospital, death, natural disaster, you figure it out first. 2. Elowen gets therapy, real therapy weekly for at least 6 months. Not just when you're in crisis, Elowen, consistently. 3. Family therapy, all of us, to address these patterns properly. 4. My time off is mine. No guilt trips about how I spend it or who I spend it with. 5. I'm not your financial safety net anymore. I'm happy to help occasionally, but I'm not subsidizing anyone's life while they find themselves. I looked at Elowen directly. You need to get a job, any job, retail, food service, whatever. Something that creates structure and responsibility. Then to my parents, I love you all, but I can't sacrifice myself for your comfort anymore. If you can't respect these boundaries, I'll need distance. My father spoke first. These are fair, more than fair. I should have said this years ago. Kamira struggled. I could see it on her face. Years of operating one way, suddenly being asked to change. This is hard to hear. But it's necessary, I said. She nodded slowly. I'll try. We both will. Elowen surprised me. I called a therapist from Paris. First appointment is next week, and I applied to 3 retail jobs before the trip. I already have an interview at the bookstore near campus. Really? I asked. Really? Lena, I need to grow up. Sitting in that crappy hotel room listening to Mom and Dad fight about money, about you, about everything, I realized I did this. My manipulation, my learned helplessness. This is on me. It wasn't complete redemption, but it was a start. I'm not saying everything's fixed, I said to all of them. This is just the beginning. There will be setbacks. Old patterns don't die easily. We understand, my father said. I stood up. I'm going to Italy in September, 2 weeks by myself. I don't want anyone trying to talk me out of it or asking to come along. Of course, Isandro said. You deserve it. My mother reached across the table, tentative. Will you still come to Sunday dinners? Sometimes, I said honestly. When I want to, not because I feel obligated. She nodded, understanding this was the new normal. We stood in awkward silence for a moment. Then Elowen moved first, coming around the table. She didn't try to hug me. She just stood there. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, she said, but I'm going to earn it back, however long it takes. I nodded. Okay. My father hugged me, whispering, Proud of you, mija. My mother hugged me last, holding on a little too tight. I'm trying to understand, she said. I really am. That's all I ask. As Sophia and I walked back to the car, she bumped my shoulder with hers. You did it. I did it, I repeated, feeling the weight of it. How do you feel? I thought about it. Exhausted, relieved, scared, hopeful. Free, I finally said. I feel free. 3 months after the airport confrontation, I sat in Dr. Lisa Chen's office for my weekly therapy session. Tell me about the changes, she said. I thought about where to start. Elowen got the bookstore job. She's been there for 10 weeks now, assistant manager already. How do you feel about that? Proud, surprised, a little wary, I admitted. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's normal. Trust takes time to rebuild. I told her about the family therapy sessions. Awkward at first, with my mother defensive and my father silent. But slowly, things were shifting. Camera was learning to ask, "How are you?" instead of assuming. Isandro was speaking up more, setting small boundaries of his own. "And you?" Dr. Chen asked. "What's changed for you?" I looked at my phone, where I'd started tracking personal milestones. I accepted that promotion, the one I turned down last year. The New York position? Not that one, it's filled now, but a new opportunity came up. Senior accountant, 40% raise, better hours. I start next month. That's wonderful. What else? I've been dating. I felt myself blush slightly. Nothing serious yet, but I'm trying. Went on 3 dates last month. And? And I didn't cancel any of them to deal with family emergencies. That's progress, right? Dr. Chin smiled. Significant progress. The real test had come 2 weeks ago. Elowin had called, crying, saying she'd had a panic attack at work and needed me to come get her. The old Polina would have dropped everything and rushed over. Instead, I'd said, "I'm sorry you're struggling. Can you call your therapist's emergency line? I'm in the middle of something." There'd been shocked silence. Then, "Oh, yeah, I can do that. Sorry for bothering you." "You're not bothering me, but I can't be your first call for everything anymore. That's what your therapist is for." She'd called her therapist, worked through the panic attack, called me back 3 hours later to say she'd handled it and felt proud of herself. "That must have been difficult," Dr. Chen said when I told her. "It was. I felt guilty for hours. But she survived. She's stronger than everyone gives her credit for." "Than she gives herself credit for," Dr. Chen corrected. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophia. "Still on for photography class tonight?" I smiled and typed back. "Wouldn't miss it." "You're smiling," Dr. Chen observed. "I joined a photography club. It's stupid, but I've always wanted to learn, and—" "It's not stupid. Why do you minimize things that bring you joy?" I stopped. She was right. "Old habit. New boundaries," she reminded me. "Including with yourself. You're allowed to want things just because they make you happy." As I left her office, I felt lighter than I had in years. The promotion, the dating, the photography, all of it felt like I was slowly rebuilding a version of myself I'd lost somewhere along the way. Or maybe finding a version I'd never had the chance to become. My phone rang. Elowin. I almost let it go to voicemail from reflex. Then I answered. "Hey. Hey, are you busy?" "I have a few minutes. What's up?" "I wanted to ask, can I come over Saturday? There's something I need to talk to you about." Old Polina would have immediately worried. "What's wrong? What crisis? How can I fix it?" New Polina said, "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, actually, everything's good. I have something to give you." "Okay. Come around too?" "Perfect. Thanks, Lena." After we hung up, I allowed myself a moment of curiosity rather than anxiety. That was progress too. Saturday at 2 p.m., Elowin knocked on my door, looking nervous but determined. She carried a canvas tote bag and wouldn't quite meet my eyes. "Come in," I said, gesturing to the couch. She sat, clutching the bag in her lap. "So, I've been wanting to do this for a while, but my therapist said I needed to make sure my motives were right first." "Okay." She pulled out an envelope. "This is $1,200, 3 months of paychecks from the bookstore, every cent I could save." I stared at it. "Elowin, what?" "Your Italy trip. I want to contribute." "You don't have to." "Yes, I do." Her voice was firm. "Not because I owe you. I mean, I do, but that's not why. Because I want to. Because you're my sister and you spent 2 years saving for a trip I stole from you." "I have money saved. Aunt Rosa gave me." "I know. Dad told me. But Polina, let me do this. Please." She finally looked at me. "For 10 weeks, I've been waking up at 6 a.m. to work opening shifts. I've dealt with rude customers and inventory and standing for 8 hours straight. And you know what I realized?" "What?" "This is what you've been doing for years. Working hard, saving money, being responsible, while I've been coasting on excuses and other people's money." She set the envelope on the coffee table between us. "This doesn't make us even, but it's a start." I picked up the envelope. Inside were neat stacks of 20s, carefully counted. "This is your savings, Elowin. What if you need it?" Then I'll work more shifts, like you would. She smiled, but there were tears in her eyes. I'm not asking to come with you, by the way. I know you need this trip alone. That surprised me. Really? Really. Dr. Williams, my therapist, helped me see that I've been inserting myself into your life instead of building my own. This is your thing, your dream. I'm not going to take it again. Something tight in my chest loosened. This was real growth, not just words. Besides, Elowen continued, pulling something else from her bag, I have my own dreams to work on. She handed me a canvas, turned backward so I couldn't see the image. I've been painting again. Real painting, not just therapy art. I finished this last week and I want you to have it. I turned it around. The painting took my breath away. It showed two versions of me. One bent under an enormous weight, face obscured, shoulders curved in exhaustion. The other standing tall, arms spread wide, face turned toward light, the weight scattered at her feet like broken chains. The title, painted in small letters at the bottom, The Unburdening. Elowen, I whispered. You taught me what strength really is, she said quietly. It's not carrying everything. It's knowing what to put down. I couldn't speak. Tears blurred my vision. I'm entering it in a show next month, Elowen continued. My first real showing since the rejection. I'm terrified, but Dr. Williams says that's good. Fear means it matters. I set the painting down carefully and pulled her into a hug. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you too. She hugged back, hard. And I'm sorry. For all of it. For taking advantage. For the manipulation. For making you feel invisible. I know. Are we going to be okay? Eventually? I pulled back to look at her. Yeah, we're going to be okay. She wiped her eyes. Good, because I actually love working at the bookstore, and I need someone to talk to about pretentious literary customers who ask for that blue book about feelings. I laughed, really laughed. You can call me about that any time. After she left, I sat looking at the painting for a long time. Then I looked at the envelope of money. I wasn't going to use it for Italy. I was going to put it in a savings account for Elowen, her emergency fund, her safety net. But she didn't need to know that yet. She needed to feel the pride of contribution, the dignity of giving, not just receiving. I understood that need better than anyone. 2 weeks before my Italy trip, I called a family meeting at my apartment. I'd never done that before, called everyone together on my terms, in my space. It felt strange and powerful at the same time. They arrived at 6 p.m. My mother brought flan, a peace offering in dessert form. My father carried a bottle of wine. Elowen came empty-handed but on time, which was its own miracle. Thank you for coming, I said once everyone was settled. I have some things to tell you. Camira gripped Isandro's hand. They looked nervous. First, I said, I want to acknowledge the progress we've all made. Family therapy has been hard, but it's helping. I see all of you trying. My mother relaxed slightly. That said, I've made some decisions about my future. I took a breath. This was the hard part. I accepted a job transfer to Seattle. The silence was deafening. Seattle? Camira's voice was barely a whisper. That's 3,000 miles away. I know. You're leaving because of us. It wasn't a question. I'm leaving for me, I corrected gently. Not running away, running toward something. My own life, my own space, my own identity that isn't defined by being everyone's problem solver. When? My father asked quietly. 3 months. After I get back from Italy. Elowen spoke up, surprising everyone. I support this. What? Camira turned to her. Mama, we drove her away. Not intentionally, but we did. By making her responsible for our happiness instead of her own. She deserves her own life. But we're making changes, Camira protested. We're going to therapy, And that's good, I interrupted. But Mom, I need to see if I can stand on my own. Away from the patterns we've built for 3 decades, I need to figure out who Polina is when she's not busy being your daughter or Elowen's sister. Will you visit? My father asked, and the pain in his voice nearly broke me. Yes, but on my schedule. Maybe Christmas. Maybe a long weekend. When I want to, not when I feel obligated. My mother stood abruptly. This is extreme. Over one trip? You're moving across the country? No, Mama, not over one trip. I stood too, facing her. Over 29 years of being invisible unless someone needed something. Over promotions turned down and opportunities missed. Over a lifetime of putting myself last. I didn't ask you to do that, she said, but her voice wavered. You didn't have to ask. You just expected it, and I let you. That's on both of us. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I don't know how to be a mother who doesn't need you. Learn. Because if I stay here, nothing will really change. We'll slip back into old patterns because they're comfortable. They're familiar. Camera, let her go, Isandro said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. If we love her, we support her, he continued. Even if it hurts. Especially if it hurts, because it means we're finally putting her needs ahead of our comfort. My mother sank back onto the couch, crying in earnest now. I do love you. I'm sorry I showed it so poorly. I sat beside her. Then show it better, starting now. Let me go. Wish me well. And trust that distance doesn't mean I'm abandoning you. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. Can I still call you? Yes, but Mom, before you call, I need you to ask yourself, can I handle this on my own? If the answer is yes, try first. It was harsh, but necessary. I'll try, she whispered. Elowen came over, sitting on Kamira's other side. We'll help each other, Mama, like we should have been doing all along. My father raised his wine glass. To Polina, to new beginnings, to courage. We all raised our glasses. To courage, we echoed. The flan was eaten in relative quiet, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the silence of people processing change, accepting loss, and trying to find their footing in a new family dynamic. Before they left, my mother hugged me tightly. I am proud of you, she said. I should have said that more. I am proud. Thank you, Mama. After the door closed behind them, I stood in my empty apartment and felt the full weight of what I'd done. I was moving to Seattle. I was really doing it. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't terrified of what my family would think. I was excited about what I would discover. The plane touched down in Rome on a brilliant September morning, and I stepped into my new life. For the first 3 hours, I was terrified. Navigating a foreign airport alone, finding my Uber, checking into my hotel, all without anyone to rely on but myself. Every small success felt monumental. My hotel room was small but charming, with a balcony overlooking a narrow Roman street. I stood there listening to the unfamiliar sounds, scooters buzzing, Italian conversations flowing like music, church bells marking the hour. I pulled out my journal and wrote, I'm in Rome, alone, and it's perfect. The first day I wandered aimlessly. No itinerary, no schedule. I got lost in the winding streets and found a tiny cafe where an old woman served me the best cappuccino I'd ever tasted. I sat in a piazza and watched street performers. I took photos of everything, not for Instagram, not to show anyone, just because they were beautiful and I wanted to remember. On day 2, I signed up for a cooking class. 8 strangers learning to make fresh pasta in a Roman kitchen. I laughed with a couple from Australia, traded travel stories with a solo traveler from Japan, and for 4 hours I was just Polina. Not a daughter, not a sister, not a fixer. Just a woman learning to make carbonara. First time traveling alone? The instructor asked as I rolled dough. Yes. How is it? I thought about it. Terrifying. And absolutely incredible, she smiled. That's the best kind of experience. On day 3, I stood in the Colosseum and cried. Not sad tears, overwhelmed tears. I'd made it. After everything, after all the sacrifice and planning and cancellations and confrontations, I was here. I texted Sophia. I'm standing in the Colosseum and I've never felt more alive. Her response? That's my girl, fly high. Florence was art and beauty and long walks along the Arno River. I spent 6 hours in the Uffizi Gallery, no one rushing me, no one checking their watch. I saw Botticelli's Birth of Venus and thought of Elowen, her dreams of being an artist, her courage to try again. I sent her a photo. This made me think of you. Keep creating. She responded immediately. Thank you for believing in me, even when I didn't deserve it. In a small trattoria, I met an elderly Italian woman named Rosa. The coincidence made me smile. She sat at the next table and struck up a conversation in broken English. You travel alone? She asked. Yes. Brava. I wanted to do this when I was young. But family, you know, always family first. She looked wistful. Now they are gone, and I am old, and I think, why did I wait? It's never too late, I offered. She shook her head. For some things it is. But you are young. You have time to be free. Use it wisely. Her words stayed with me. Venice was magic. Gondola rides and getting lost in narrow alleys and watching the sunset paint the Grand Canal in gold. I took the gondola ride I'd originally planned for my parents, and the gondolier asked, No romance? Romance with myself, I said. He laughed. The best kind. You break your own heart less. On my last night in Venice, my phone rang. Mom. I almost didn't answer. Then I did. Polina, is this a good time? The fact that she asked, that alone was progress. Yes, Mama. What's up? I wanted to hear your voice, to tell you I hope you're having a wonderful time. That's all. No crisis, no guilt trip, just a mother calling to connect. I am, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I really am. Good. That's all I wanted to know. Enjoy, mija. You deserve this. After we hung up, I stood on the balcony of my Venetian hotel and felt something click into place. This was what healing looked like. Small moments, changed patterns, progress, not perfection. I pulled out my journal and wrote, A year ago, I thought love meant sacrifice. Now I know it means balance. Sacrifice without boundaries is martyrdom. Love without self-respect is dependency. I don't regret the canceled trip. I regret that I needed to cancel it for them to see me. But I don't regret who I've become. Strong, boundaried, free. Sometimes the best journey is the one you take alone. I came home tanned, rested, and changed in ways that had nothing to do with geography. 1 week after my return, I invited my family to dinner. My apartment, my cooking, my rules. I spent the afternoon preparing the recipes I'd learned in Italy. Homemade pasta, fresh sauce, tiramisu from scratch. Each dish a reminder that I'd done this, built this, created this life on my own. They arrived at 6 p.m. sharp. Isandro brought flowers. For your new adventure in Seattle, Camira brought my childhood photo album. I thought you might want this, for your new place. Elowen brought her painting, the finished framed version. For your apartment. So you remember. The table I'd set was simple but beautiful. Wine glasses catching the light, candles flickering, good food made with my own hands. We sat down together, and for the first time in memory, it felt balanced. This is incredible, Polina, my father said after the first bite. When did you learn to cook like this? In Rome, at a cooking class I took by myself. Tell us about it, Camira said. And she listened, really listened, as I described the class, the people I'd met, the streets I'd wandered. Elowen shared about her upcoming art show. 3 pieces sold already, can you believe it? I can, I said honestly. You're talented, you always have been. I'm also thinking about taking some business classes, she continued. The bookstore manager says I have a knack for it. Maybe I could run my own gallery someday. My mother beamed with pride. Not the desperate pride of wanting her daughter to succeed to validate her parenting, but genuine joy in Elowen's growth. The conversation flowed naturally. No drama, no tension. Just a family enjoying each other's company. After dessert, Camira stood with her wine glass. I want to say something. She looked at me directly. Polina, I've spent 3 months in therapy learning things I should have known all along. About boundaries, about enabling, about the difference between protecting and smothering. She paused, gathering herself. I'm sorry it took losing you, almost losing you, for me to see what I'd been doing. You're not my second mother. You're not my backup plan. You're my daughter, and you deserve to be loved without conditions, without expectations, without the burden of fixing everyone else. Tears streamed down her face. I'm proud of you for standing up, for leaving, for showing all of us what real strength looks like. I stood and hugged her, both of us crying now. Thank you, Mama, I whispered. Elowyn raised her glass next, to Polina, for teaching me that being strong doesn't mean carrying everything. It means knowing what to put down. To courage, my father added, and to new beginnings for all of us. We clinked glasses, and in that moment, something fundamental shifted. We weren't the same family we'd been 6 months ago. We were better, healthier, more honest. After they left, I stood in my kitchen washing dishes and felt profoundly at peace. The painting Elowyn had given me hung on my wall, the unburdening. The woman standing tall, weight scattered at her feet. That was me now, unburdened, free, ready for whatever came next. 6 months later, Seattle. My apartment overlooked Puget Sound, water stretching to mountains in the distance. Every morning I woke to that view and felt grateful. The job was challenging in the best way. My coworkers respected my boundaries. I left at 5 p.m. without guilt. I joined a hiking group, started taking weekend trips to the San Juan Islands, learned to kayak. I was building a life that was entirely mine. James, the architect I'd been dating for 2 months, was coming over for dinner. Nothing serious yet, but healthy. He had his own life, I had mine, and we chose to spend time together rather than needing to. My phone rang. Elowyn. Hey, is this a bad time? The fact that everyone asked now, that alone showed how far we'd come. I have 20 minutes before my date arrives. What's up? Just wanted to tell you, I got into that business program, start in January. Elowyn, that's amazing! Also, the gallery show went so well they asked me to do another one, and I got promoted at the bookstore, assistant manager to manager. Pride swelled in my chest. Look at you, becoming a responsible adult. She laughed. Shocking, right? Mom cried when I told her. Happy tears, but still. How is Mom? Good, actually. She joined a book club, made some friends her own age. She and Dad took a weekend trip to San Diego. Just them. No drama, no crisis, just a normal vacation. That's progress. How are you? Elowyn asked. Really? I looked around my apartment, photos from Italy on the wall, hiking boots by the door, a half-finished photography project on my desk. I'm happy, I said simply. Really, genuinely happy. Good, you deserve it. A pause. I miss you, though. I miss you too, but Elowyn, I know, you needed this. We all did. She sounded mature, settled in a way she never had before. I'll let you go. Have fun on your date. Love you, Lena. Love you too. After we hung up, I opened my journal, the same one I'd started 6 months ago, and wrote. Someone asked me recently if I regret the canceled trip. I don't. That trip was about earning love through grand gestures. This life is about knowing I'm worthy of love just by existing. Europe was beautiful, but learning to choose myself was transformative. My family didn't fall apart without me. They grew. I didn't fall apart without them. I flourished. We talk weekly now. We visit occasionally. We love each other, but from a healthy distance, with respect, with boundaries. The trip to Europe taught them nothing. The trip I took alone taught me everything. Asterisk. The doorbell rang. James, right on time, holding flowers and wearing that easy smile I was starting to look forward to. Ready? He asked. I looked back at my apartment one more time, my space, my rules, my life, and smiled. Yeah, I said. I'm ready. And for the first time in 29 years, I truly was.